boring. Just the thought of it broke my heart, to the point where I knew I had to do something about my vision. And the more I thought about it, the more I came to grips that I really only had two options. Option one was to accept my old age and dying eyes, and the cold hard truth that I'd probably be moved into a nursing home sooner than I'd like. Option two was to do whatever it took to get my vision back. Obviously, option two sounded much better in theory, so on my next visit to the eye doc, I asked him if there was anything at all that had helped me get my vision back. Even experimental new procedures or operations, wasn't there something we could try? Well, I couldn't see the man's facial expression, but I could tell he was shaking his head. And he basically told me that while there were always experimental trials happening, there was virtually no chance I'd ever get to participate in any of them. And apologized and all, but really my only course of action was to learn to live with my dying eyes. Then he gave me, I kid you not, a booklet about coping with AMD, which was ironic, of course, because at that point I couldn't see a damn thing, let alone read some tiny printed little pamphlet. My doctor should have been a comedian. I had a nice little laugh about that. But when my daughter drove me back home that afternoon, I grew sad and lonely again, because it really didn't seem like there was any hope for my eyes at all. And I even remember thinking to myself that I was being foolish for even thinking that my vision could ever be restored, because it really would take a miracle. But that same evening, the Lord must have been listening to me as I said all of this, because not even 2 weeks later, a miracle fell right into my lap, even though I didn't recognize it at first. I remember it like it was yesterday. Summer was just around the corner, and my nephew Robert asked if he could come stay at my house for a month or two. Robert had just finished up 7 years in the Marines, and he wanted to move back home to Texas, but hadn't found a place to stay yet. And considering the fact I was living all by myself and had nothing going on in my life, since I couldn't leave the house on account of my eyes, I jumped at the chance to have the young man as a guest. So that's exactly what he did. Robert came to stay with me, and he was such a sharp young man. I felt so proud of him and grateful to the Marines for helping mold him into who he's become. Not a day went by where Robert wouldn't help me out around the house, drive me to town to do errands, and just generally be a pleasure to spend time with. He also made it a daily ritual around dinner time to start reading me news articles from his smartphone, which was really nice of him, because while I still had my hearing and could listen to the news, it was way more fun when he did it, and we could discuss the stories and what they meant. We passed a lot of evenings that way. But then one evening in early August, Robert came across a story on his phone that instantly caught both of our attentions. It was titled, "Groundbreaking Stem Cell Research Could Restore Sight to People with Macular Diseases." And essentially what had happened was that scientists in London had grown stem cells in strict laboratory conditions for several months, then transplanted these mini retinas into two patients who both had age-related macular degeneration. Then the article said, the team has already succeeded in turning stem cells into cone photoreceptors, and their data indicates that it's possible to rescue visual function using these photoreceptors. And these patients went from not being able to read at all to reading 60 to 80 words per minute with no reported side effects. I couldn't believe what Robert was telling me. There it was in plain view, an article saying that scientists had reversed AMD in real-life humans. Why was this the first time I was hearing about this? Yet, as excited as I felt at first, I told myself not to get carried away, because something that happened in a laboratory is one thing, but that doesn't mean it'll be available for everyday folks like me anytime soon. Plus, even if it did ever become available to the public, something so groundbreaking would probably cost hundreds of thousands of dollars anyways, or have an endless wait list. So I told my nephew it was exciting, but that I didn't want to get my hopes up. He went silent for a few seconds, which led me to believe this article was a lead he was going to investigate. A few evenings went by where Robert locked himself in the guest room instead of reading articles to me from his smartphone. I had no clue what he was doing at first, and it worried me slightly. But a couple days later, he sat down at the kitchen table and he told me, "Look, Uncle Dave, this stem cell stuff looks pretty promising. I really think you should know about this." Then, before I could even say a word, Robert started talking. And pay close attention to what he said, because this is where it all began, where I finally realized that maybe I could heal my dying eyes after all. And ultimately, this conversation is what led me to the stem cell breakthrough I'll be sharing with you. Something that's been proven to heal even the most severe cases of vision loss, and that works whether your problems come from cataracts, AMD, glaucoma, nearsightedness, or something else. You see, as my nephew Robert explained, it turned out that article wasn't baloney. In fact, scientists had been using stem cells to reverse AMD and other forms of vision loss for quite some time now. And more importantly, they were doing it with something called Adult Pluripotent Stem Cells, or AP stem cells for short, which have nothing to do with unborn babies or embryos, by the way. The way adult pluripotent stem cells work is that they are powerful and unique cells that each and every one of us are born with. But unlike most of your other cells, which are given a role in your body from day one, like skin cells, pancreas cells, brain cells, heart cells, and so on, AP stem cells don't have a specific role. Instead, they act like free agents and have the capability to turn into almost any type of cell in the human body. To give you context as to why that's so important, Let's say you've damaged your sight from staring at the computer screen for too long. At an early age, you've got an abundance of adult pluripotent stem cells dormant in your body. So, if your eyes get damaged, your body can call some of these AP stem cells to do its job, and they'll travel up to the site of damage in your eyes. Then they'll mold and transform into healthy new eye cells and replace the damaged, decrepit ones. Now, I don't know about you, but I find it fascinating that stem cells do all of this. Robbie also found out that as we get older, we start using all of the adult pluripotent stem cells that we're born with. And by the time we reach our 40s, 50s, 60s, and beyond, we're running dangerously low. Which explains why stuff like cataracts, macular degeneration, and glaucoma are much more likely to happen when you're 50 plus. Because when you're younger, your body's got more than enough AP stem cells in reserve so that your eyes can heal themselves. But later on in life, you're running close to empty, like a car running out of gas. So your eyes begin breaking down until you eventually go blind. Makes sense, right? Like I said, it's fascinating. And in fact, the scientist who discovered that AP stem cells do all of this won the 2012 Nobel Prize. His name was Shinya Yamanaka. And the moment he made his stem cell discovery, experts in the medical community realized this could be the single most important breakthrough when it comes to vision loss and blindness. And their assumption was almost right on the money. Because in the past decade or so, scientists have been using stem cells to reverse AMD, blindness, cataracts, and just about every vision issue right front and center. But the thing is, they've been conducting these experiments on animals instead of humans. The good news is that a pig's eye is almost identical to the human eye, and I'm assuming that scientists either didn't have approvals or were too scared to do anything with stem cells on humans. Luckily, once the government passed new regulations that allowed scientists to finally pursue breakthrough scientific advances, it's about time things started to change. Imagine it now. A world where doctors can simply transfer healthy, vibrant, adult pluripotent stem cells to your eyes, and those stem cells go to work like a first aid crew, repairing all of the age-related damage to your macula, your retina, your cornea, your iris, your lens, or wherever the damage is. Until before long, you go from the frightening nightmare of blindness to crystal clear HD vision, where every color, every face, every word you read is all perfectly clear and visible. Not much to my surprise, this was already happening. It was something a few lucky people were blessed to experience, those who were blind having their vision restored. It was difficult for me to not feel excited hearing about all this, but again, I didn't keep my expectations high, because it had already taken more than a decade from discovering adult PSC stem cells to the first ever human trials. And even though the results had been outstanding, it was safe to assume it'd probably take another 10 years or even longer before any sort of stem cell treatment would be publicly available for folks like me and you. Besides, even when that did happen, you'd without a doubt wonder if these treatments would really even be safe, and would it even be affordable? I didn't have a clue what the answers would be, and I felt almost like God was testing me. Because while everything I was hearing pretty much proved that we're on the verge of wiping blindness off the face of the earth for good, I still had no idea when I would have the chance to get adult PSC stem cells for myself. So once again, I felt like I was getting ahead of myself and that I should just drop it before I got my hopes up. But like clockwork, the Lord had other plans for me. This time, my nephew had an old buddy in town, a friend of his from the Marines named Alex. And one chilly evening, we invited him over to my house for dinner. For most of the night, it was nice enough to exchange small talk and keep my mind off my dying eyes. I asked my nephew's buddy Alex what he did in the Marines, and he said he was a herpetologist, a special kind of department who studied amphibians in the Office of Marines Research. And so we talked about his line of work and why he got into it. But after a while, the conversation turned to my blindness, and my nephew started telling his friend Alex about what he'd been researching and how he was so amazed that adult PSC stem cells can repair basically any part of the human eye. Robert talked for what seemed like the entire night about it, and even though I couldn't see, I began to wonder if he was boring our guest because I didn't hear him say a word the entire time. But then Alex finally opened his mouth, and what he said surprised the hell out of me and my nephew. "Stem cells, huh?" he said curiously. "That's super interesting, sort of like what the salamander does." Neither me nor Robert had a clue what he was talking about, so we asked him. And that's when Alex told us about a type of amphibian that lives under rocks near creeks, ponds, and lakes all throughout the United States called the salamander. And that it's been documented several times over that the salamander never goes blind because whenever there is damage to their retinas or anywhere else on their body for that matter, the salamander is able to grow new stem cells in its body. Then it sends these new stem cells directly into its eyes, where the stem cells mend and replace the damage, which allows the salamander to continue to see. My jaw dropped as Alex told us all of this, because while I knew he was a biologist, I'd never heard that the salamander could do this. To be quite frank with you, I didn't even know what a salamander was until this day. Now, I was pretty skeptical about it all, so I asked my nephew to look up the salamander on his smartphone and see if all of this was true. And to my surprise, Robert reported back that everything he said about the salamander was 100% true. As a matter of fact, new research published in Frontiers in Cell and Developmental Biology were already studying salamander intensely. The Smithsonian published an article stating, salamanders can even regenerate spinal cords, eyes, and parts of their brains. And it turned out that scientists have begun expensive experiments to study the salamander and had already claimed that not only does this little amphibian hold the key to restoring vision, but even fighting all sorts of human diseases too. It's actually amazing. The simple fact that the salamander can basically just create healing stem cells at the snap of a finger and regenerate its vision or any other part of its body whenever damage occurs, no matter how badly their eyes are harmed or how old they are. When I asked Alex how the salamander did all of this, I'm pretty sure he shrugged because while I couldn't see him, he said something like, "I'd win the Nobel Prize if I knew the answer. Honestly, I have no idea. It probably has to do with their diet or something." After that, we ended the conversation. But what he said struck a chord in me. Even though Alex was joking around about the salamander's diet, it sort of made sense to me. Because when we humans eat healthy food rich in vitamins and nutrients, those nutrients help protect against diabetes, Alzheimer's, and other diseases. At least that's what my doctor tells me. So I thought, what if the salamander's eating something that lets them produce new stem cells and heal their eyes? I know it sounded like a long shot, but heck, what did I even have to lose? So once again, I asked my nephew a favor and look into the salamander's diet in the wild, just in case one of those foods they ate had some correlation with stem cells at all. It felt like a desperate Hail Mary attempt, but I had nothing to lose. And so the next morning, before the sun was even up, Robert sprinted into my room with his laptop on his forearm, telling me to come to the kitchen table because I wouldn't fathom the discovery he'd just found. You see, what he'd found out was that in the wild, salamanders eat a highly carnivorous diet and will eat all types of live critters. And as Robert had uncovered, their unique diet is packed with a nutrient called aminoethane sulfonate. This antioxidant is a nutrient found largely in mealworms and insects, which salamanders love to eat. Now, the reason this mattered, Robert said, is because when he started looking into this rare nutrient, he quickly found that in a major study published in the Journal of Stem Cell Research, they'd found that when they fed mice a diet high in aminoethane sulfonate, not only did the mice begin to grow new stem cells, but even more incredibly, these new stem cells were the exact type as the ones salamanders grow when they need to repair their eyes. Well, when I heard about all of this, my jaw dropped. You see, it turned out that aminoethane sulfonate was just one of the nutrients the salamanders eat in the wild. But there were several others too, and sure enough, Robert discovered that in almost every single case, the ingredients that the salamander loved to eat every day has been scientifically proven to help the body produce brand new, fresh, adult PSC stem cells. Plus, these exact same ingredients also had studies displaying dramatic improvements in our eyesight and vision too. For instance, another major nutrient in the salamander's diet is something called zeaxanthin, which I'd never heard of before, but it's apparently a carotenoid and it's found in certain types of shrimp shells and fish skin, which all happen to be things that the salamander loves to eat. As Robert dug further into this, he discovered that in a brand new study published by the National Institutes of Health, NIH, a team of medical scientists had conducted an in-depth study of how zeaxanthin influences human cells, and without a shadow of doubt, they found this nutrient has the ability to enhance the self-renewal potency of stem cells, which is a fancy way of saying that zeaxanthin commands the body to produce brand new stem cells. What's even more impressive, in another major clinical study, this one published in the International Journal of Molecular Sciences, where a team of scientists dissected zeaxanthin in every way possible to get a better understanding behind how it works, and guess what they found? Not only did it improve stem cell potency and proliferation, but even more astonishingly, the scientists specifically mentioned that zeaxanthin increased what are called neuroprogenitor cells, and those are the same kind of stem cells that the salamanders use to repair their eyes too. So now I was getting chills, because the studies prove that salamanders use stem cells to repair their eyes along with every other part of their body that's damaged. Then I saw that aminoethane sulfonate was proven to help the body grow more of that same type of stem cell. And now I was hearing that something called zeaxanthin did the exact same thing. And since, of course, the salamander's diet is filled with aminoethane sulfonate and zeaxanthin, there was a clear connection at play. The crazy part is we were still just getting started, because Robert found at least 3 more brand new studies, all published in peer-reviewed journals, all showing that zeaxanthin increases the production of adult repair stem cells in the body. Plus, when we dug even deeper, we found there were also dozens of studies showing that astaxanthin directly improved vision and eyesight, including a big 2016 study that was published in the Annual Review of Nutrition, which found that supplementing the diet with zeaxanthin didn't just directly protect against damage to the retina, it also significantly reduced it and stopped these retina cells from dying. I like to err on the side of if it's too good to be true, then it usually is. But the cold, hard scientific evidence was right there in front of us, not just anecdotes or speculation. And at that moment, I finally allowed myself to get excited and to believe that just maybe I really could restore my vision and dying eyes. It was starting to become really obvious that, number one, the salamander can produce new stem cells and regenerate its vision like clockwork. Number two, the salamander's diet is loaded with nutrients that have been scientifically proven to get the body to produce new stem cells. Number three, so it makes sense that when we humans take the same exact stem cell producing nutrients, we can also heal our eyes. All signs pointed to us having a major vision breakthrough. But of course, that didn't mean this is what would actually happen in real life. Still though, given what we were seeing, Robert and I agreed that we should find a way to combine the ingredients we'd been studying together in the same dosages as from the studies, then start testing them to see if they had any effect on my vision at all. So that's what we did. We started looking for a way to get aminoethane sulfonate and zeaxanthin from overseas, the same exact type that the salamanders ate. And in addition to those two ingredients, we also started looking for a high-quality source of lutein, which is another carotenoid, like zeaxanthin, that is already very well known to protect your eyes. Turns out this ingredient is found in the insects that the salamander eats too. And what we quickly realized through doing more research is that when you get this nutrient from natural, bioavailable sources, instead of in their synthetic form, which is how they appear in most vision supplements you see online for sale, lutein has been shown to support the body's production of adult repair stem cells too. So that brought our list of proven stem cell producing ingredients to the following: aminoethane sulfonate, zeaxanthin, and lutein. And then we added even more ingredients to the list, things like Euphrasia officinalis, grapeseed extract, bilberry extract, quercetin, and rutin. And the reason why we added those is because we also found a ton of research showing that they had the power to significantly improve vision, no matter how bad your dying eyes have become. So once we had our complete list of ingredients, we took out a mortgage loan to fund an entire team of expert lab scientists at the local university, tasking them with the sole purpose of combining these ingredients into a single pill form, something that was easy to swallow yet extremely effective. We were also extremely careful about the production process, obsessing over the quality, bioavailability, and purity of these ingredients, because we knew this was the only chance we had to save my fading eyesight and eradicate my AMD and cataracts for good. So we tested the formulations day and night, until finally, after months of negotiating with biologists and scientists all over the US, and spending pretty much every single waking hour in the lab we rented here in Dallas, we had something we were ready to test. It was a single pill that contained scientifically proven doses of each and every one of the stem cell producing ingredients we'd uncovered. And all I could do was keep my faith in God. Then the moment of truth finally came. So on a cool November morning, I took my very first dose of this stem cell activating formula. After that, all I could do was wait and pray to the Lord that I would see any improvement in my dying eyes. A full day went by, nothing. Then 2 days, then 3 days, still no signs, at least nothing noticeable. But still, I'd been hoping for an instant fix, especially after all the hard work and money I've put into it, so I couldn't help but wonder if maybe I'd been a fool to even try. When I mentioned it to Robert, though, how much I'd been feeling down in the dumps, he just about smacked me back into reality and told me of course it was going to take a bit of time and to place my faith in God. So that's exactly what I did. I remained vigilant and kept taking my pill day after day. And on the morning of the 11th day, something interesting happened. When I woke up, I still had dark spots in the center of my vision, but it did seem like they were a little less noticeable, and my vision seemed a tad clearer too, not as cloudy as before. It wasn't the miracle I'd hoped for, but it was a step in the right direction, and that was all I needed to keep going, which is exactly what I did. And I thank the man upstairs for that, because by the 22nd day, those same dark spots were dramatically lighter, and any signs of skepticism had completely vanished. In fact, some of the dark spots were even starting to disappear altogether. It was like these black things in my vision were slowly but surely fading. Plus, my cloudy lenses were basically all cleared up at this point, and after the 4th week, things started to happen fast. The big black holes in my vision were now nothing but tiny dots, kind of like how they'd been when I was first diagnosed with AMD, which wasn't bad at all. In fact, for the most part, my field of vision was entirely unblocked. And that's when I considered reinstating my driver's license, because I was confident that this was truly working. And finally, in the 3rd month, that's when my vision started becoming HD again. You see, beforehand, I'd already been able to see directly in front of me and make out shapes and faces without much trouble, but things were still a bit blurry. Not anymore, though. And that's the moment when I realized that I'd successfully reversed my fading vision and healed my eyes entirely. I can't even describe the feeling that came over me. But if you're struggling with fading vision right now, I'm sure you can imagine what it'd be like if suddenly you went from not being able to read or see road signs to having crystal clear vision in razor-sharp definition. And let me tell you, the first time I saw my grandson Lucas, I mean really saw him, his big brown eyes, that warm smile, well, I just couldn't hold back my tears. And I'm not even embarrassed to say it, because it really was a miracle. I thought I'd never be able to see his face before I died. Now I could see every detail in stunning 20/20 vision. And at this point, things started to happen fast, because everyone I knew were all speechless by what happened. The priest even called me up to the front of church one Sunday and had me recount my story, and he called it a miracle from God. And then I had dozens of members from our church wanting to know about me and Robert's discovery. Of course, I was happy to share what we created, and sure enough, in the months that followed, it was like our whole church began aging in reverse, because not only were folks' eyes being restored to perfect, glorious vision, but it was clear that we were all starting to look and feel a whole lot younger too. Which makes sense, since adult pluripotent stem cells don't just heal your eyes, they literally have the power to heal and fix every single part of your body: your skin, your hair, your nails, your heart, your liver, your brain, your pancreas, your colon. Stem cells' one and only job is to heal your body. And as the word continued to spread about this little-known church in Texas where the blind were once again able to see, that's when the calls, emails, and letters came flooding in from all over the world, with folks asking if me and Robert would send them some of our vision healing breakthrough too. So at that point, we knew that's what we had to do, that this was God's calling for us, because it was obvious that what we discovered could save the eyes of so many. So we went to work producing our eye-restoring formula for the public. We were extremely careful about the production process and only used the purest and most bioavailable forms of each nutrient. This was crucial because we realized that while there already were other supplements out there that contained some of the ingredients we discovered, most of their ingredients were made synthetically in a lab, which was probably why they hadn't worked so good. And I wanted to make sure that in our case, we were delivering to people the most effective, natural, sight-saving formula on the planet. We decided to call our discovery Visisoothe, because that's what it does. It clears up your vision while healing every single part of your eye at a cellular level. And because Visisoothe harnesses the power of adult pluripotent stem cells, this is something that can refresh pretty much your entire body too. And now you're probably asking how you can get your hands on Visisoothe for yourself, along with how often you need to take it for best results. To be honest, it's actually still very difficult for the general public to get Visisoothe. And the reason why is because many of the ingredients come from private manufacturers who typically only work with the military and high-profile individuals, where they're carefully inspected for purity and quality before finally being transformed into a single beautiful capsule, something that retains all of these ingredients' freshness and potency. It's a truly amazing process, but it's also extremely expensive and time-consuming to do all of this, which is why each batch of Visisoothe can take up to 3 months to custom create. On top of that, because Visisoothe can heal virtually every part of the eye, pretty much everyone who uses it keeps on asking for more of the stuff, because they never again want to go back to fading, blurry vision, or feel the terror of realizing they're going blind. Visisoothe is also becoming extremely popular in Europe, which is putting even more of a strain on our production capacity. And because taking Visisoothe regularly is a way to refresh and repair virtually every cell in your body, something that can help lower high blood sugar, fight inflammation in the brain, revitalize your fading kidneys, and so much more, even people who don't have poor eyesight have been ordering Visisoothe. That way, they can say no to the aging process, then actually grow younger every single day. And as a result of the fact that Visisoothe is expensive to manufacture, takes up to 3 months to produce a single batch, and keeps selling out, we frequently don't have any Visisoothe available for folks. But that being said, I also don't want anyone to suffer from the horror and loneliness of continuously weakening eyesight, which is why in the next few moments, I'll share how you can get your hands on a brand new bottle of Visisoothe as part of our breakthrough new Clear Vision program. First though, let me go back to that other question of how much Visisoothe you need to take. That's simple. Just take 2 capsules each day for at least 30 days. The reason why it's important that you take Visisoothe for at least 30 days is pretty straightforward. While the stem cell activating ingredients inside go to work pretty much immediately, the truth is that fully restoring your vision simply isn't something that happens overnight. Instead, it'll take some time, and this is especially true if your vision is really bad like mine was. Because in my case, it took almost 3 months before I went from legally blind to near perfect vision again. Of course, if your eyesight isn't as bad as mine was, you may see major results a lot faster. But still, I'd say it's important you plan on committing to Visisoothe for at least a month, and frankly, you'd probably end up wanting to take it a lot longer than that anyways. Especially since this formula doesn't just help you produce new stem cells for your eyes. It allows you to produce new, thriving, adult repair stem cells everywhere in your body, which means that if your memory is fading, or your skin is wrinkly, or your heart is damaged, those are all things Visisoothe can help with too. So it just makes sense to keep taking Visisoothe again and again, which is why most medical experts recommend you choose at least 3 bottles of Visisoothe and 6 bottles of Visisoothe if you want to be completely safe. Then take it for a period of at least 90 days. That way, you can absolutely guarantee that you've healed your eyes on a cellular level. And you can experience all of those side benefits that come from healing every other part of your body too. That's exactly what happened to Ruthie Cayley, who says, "I started taking Visisoothe for my eyesight as I'd always been nearsighted, but also because I have diabetes and had been diagnosed with retinopathy, which scared the living hell out of me. Luckily, Visisoothe worked as advertised, and now my eyesight has been the best it's ever been. Whether it's the stem cells you talk about or something else, I don't care. It's working." And Professor William Gavin, who recently wrote us and said, "I've had to rethink a lot of things since I saw your work. To be honest, I was elitist before. I didn't think anyone but scientists like me could answer questions about human health. Now I know that's not true. It's amazing how sound the science is here. I'm so impressed that you guys made the connection between salamander and the nutrients they eat. It's so obvious, yet all of us highly educated folks missed it. You didn't, and thank God for that. I've now started recommending this solution to all of my clients, and it's producing stunning results. Great work, guys." Those real-life testimonials you just heard are only a few of the hundreds I'm now receiving each month about Visisoothe. And you should know that Visisoothe is only available on the website while there are supplies in stock and we're able to stay in business. You see, the truth is Robert and I currently are facing over a dozen injunctions from pharmaceutical lawyers who hate what we're doing and who hate that there is a natural and effective way to restore eyesight, something that is actually good for your body and that bulletproofs you from disease, infection, and even old age to boot. We're fighting a war almost every day not to let Big Pharma win, but I don't want you to wait on taking action and reclaiming your life with Visisoothe. Visisoothe is your only real chance to regain your fading vision. And it's something that can protect both your eyes and your entire body for decades to come, while allowing you to retain your independence and freedom for as long as you want, without needing to spend thousands of dollars on drugs, injections, glasses, magnifying glasses, lasers, or anything else. Visisoothe is about giving you your life back. And all it takes is you using these powerful stem cell activating ingredients per day to heal your vision forever. Of course, this isn't to say that there aren't other options. I just mentioned the injections, the drugs, the vision aids, and all of those things, all of which can be helpful, I guess. But they're also so incredibly expensive. Plus, none of those things actually stop your dying eyes. They're simply band-aids at best. Another option is to wait to see if Big Pharma ever makes a stem cell procedure available to the American public. And in my opinion, this will happen, because the world's best scientists are already using stem cells to cure blindness right now. The thing with waiting, though, is that who knows how long it will be until these treatments are commercially available. Plus, just like with any other breakthrough, chances are they're going to cost hundreds of thousands of dollars for the first several years. And even then, it'll be a risky procedure where lab-grown stem cells are being inserted into your eyes, which is not just creepy, but also entirely unnecessary. Especially when, with Visisoothe, you simply take one small capsule of natural, 100% safe nutrients twice a day. And then those nutrients do what God intended them to do. They get your body producing more and more of these miraculous adult pluripotent stem cells, then tell your body to send them to the places where they're needed the most, places like your damaged eyes, so that they can go to work on healing your vision and making you 100%. And considering that this is exactly what Visisoothe does, I'm sure you can understand why I originally set the investment in this breakthrough to $149 per bottle, which honestly I think is extremely fair. It's less than you'll pay for doctor's visits, laser surgery, injections, and oral medications over the course of the year. Yet, unlike those other options, Visisoothe is a proven breakthrough that can renew every single cell inside your eye. Plus, considering that there is only one supplement manufacturing facility in the entire world that has the capabilities to make Visisoothe, and that each capsule contains the purest and most bioavailable forms of these stem cell activating ingredients, $149 really is a steal. But despite all of that, this isn't about making a profit for me or my nephew. Of course, we could use the money to help with my legal bills, especially since every single day we're fighting the prescription drug cartels who are constantly trying to sue our pants off and shut us down. But ultimately, our mission is to help people. We don't want money. We want you to be healed. We want to save more people's eyesight, just like mine, which means that we think everyone needs to be able to access Visisoothe. That's why we're offering this vision-saving breakthrough to the public for the first time ever through our special Clear Vision program. And why, if you act right now and make the life-changing decision to join the 14,000 plus men and women before you, you can get your hand on Visisoothe for just $69 per bottle. And actually, that's just the start. I understand that stopping vision loss and healing your eyes isn't just important to you, it's also important to your family and loved ones. And because I want to make sure that you and those you care about continue to enjoy brand new eyes that allow you to see the entire world in beautiful, sharp, crystal clear focus, Robert and I have created a special discounted package plan where you can get 6 bottles of Visisoothe for just $49 per bottle. This special discounted package is only being offered to you today through this website as part of our Clear Vision program, and only while supplies last. Plus, you'll also get free shipping today, which is a $9.99 value. But both the special multi-bottle discount and